I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make a lobster risotto. It's perfect for a dinner for two because lobster's a little bit on the pricey side, so I figured I'd have to share this recipe with you because it's just in time for Valentine's Day. So if you feel like going a little bit all out and still keeping within your budget but still make a really delicious and fancy like dinner, then this is going to be right up your alley. Now, the ingredients you're going to need to make the base is going to be your lobster tail, fresh parsley, peppercorn, garlic, water, and you're going to need some salt and some fish base. What we're essentially making is our own lobster stock because I can't find lobster stock in my local supermarket, so I make my own, and I figured I gotta cook the lobster anyway, so why spend the extra money? You know what I mean? So in this pot here, I'm gonna put my lobster tail, put that right in there, along with my peppercorn, fresh parsley. Now I would add some thyme to this as well, some fresh thyme. I just don't have any on hand right now, but that's an optional thing. Fresh thyme works great. I'm going to put in some water, enough water to cover the lobster tail, and then just a little bit of some fish base. This is great. You just need a little tiny bit because I don't want this to be too fishy. I want it to have a very mild flavor because I want that sweetness from the lobster to come through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to a boil. I'm going to let it simmer for about 12 minutes or so, 12 to 15 minutes, or until the lobster tail is fully cooked through. And then I'm going to strain the liquid into the same pot. Well, I'm going to strain it and then put it in the same pot, and then we'll pretty much make everything else together. My lobster tail is sitting here cooling. I've got my stock back here that I've strained through a fine sieve. That's on a simmer. Then I've got my pan here with high sides with a couple tablespoons of olive oil over medium heat. Now, a few of the additional ingredients you're going to need for this recipe are going to be some finely diced celery, shallot, and garlic, some canned chopped tomatoes, some arborio rice or risotto rice, some white wine, and salt and pepper. So let's get right into it. It's really simple, just like any other risotto we've made here in Laura in the Kitchen, but I think by adding the lobster just makes it a little more special for an anniversary or whatever the occasion might be. So I'm going to put my shallots, onions, and celery, and my pan is not really hot yet, and that's fine because I want to sweat these vegetables nice and slow. I don't want them to get too much color right off the bat because I really want them to get nice and soft. So this is going to take probably a good 4 to 5 minutes until they're really lovely and soft and translucent, and then we'll move on to the next step. That looks great. I'm going to add in my risotto rice now. I'm going to get that really well coated in that olive oil and those veggies. It smells so good in here already. If you don't want to use shallots or you don't have shallots, you can use a regular onion. I like to use shallot in this recipe. It's a little bit more mild. It's not as strong as an onion, so I think it goes better with the delicate flavor from the lobster. So I'm just going to let this stir and cook for about 30 seconds. Now we're ready to add in our chopped canned tomatoes. You could use some fresh tomatoes if you want to and just chop it up and add it in. The reason why I like doing it this way is because I don't want the peel from the tomato. So that's why I like to use canned tomatoes in this particular recipe for this, but fresh tomato works just as well. It's totally fine. Let's add in some white wine. And now you know how this goes. Once the white wine has been absorbed and there's like nothing there, you add in a liquid. You add in a ladle full of your liquid, which is the lobster stock. But you don't add it until the first layer of liquid, which was the white wine, has been absorbed. And you continue to do that one ladleful at a time for about 18 minutes or until the rice is just almost there, but not fully there yet. It's the same procedure like any other risotto we've made here, so just going to keep an eye on this. Once this is absorbed, we'll add in our first ladleful of our stock. But at first, I actually want to just put some salt right back here in my stock because I didn't put any salt earlier, and I should have. I want that to taste very, very good. Every layer to taste delicious. So we're just going to add in a ladleful when this is ready. This is good. You can see the wine's been reduced quite a bit. So now we add in our first ladleful. Wait for that to reduce and continue to do that for about 18 minutes. My risotto is almost perfect. Now what I've done is I've taken my lobster tail out of its shell. I just like to snip the shell with my kitchen scissors and then just pop the meat right out and then cut it into large chunks. So we've got that. We've got some unsalted butter ready with some fresh parsley and some Parmigiano. Now, some people will tell you that in Italian recipes, you know, cheese and fish don't mix. That's not necessarily, they're not necessarily like not right when it comes to that. I wouldn't dare put Parmigiano on top of, say, linguine with clams, but with this recipe, it's the exception. My nonna does it. Any Italian I know that makes any kind of risotto, including seafood risotto, puts Parmigiano in. That's the exception to the rule, so I do it. Now I'm going to season my risotto with some salt and pepper, because we haven't seasoned the risotto yet, but don't go too crazy on the salt because you do have the salty stock. So we've got that. I'm going to add in my chunks of lobster meat, along with some butter, parsley, good quality lobster meat. You need a little bit of it. It goes a long way. And this is just amazing for any celebration, just a real treat. Then you're going to need a good amount of Parmigiano. About, I would say for this amount, probably about 1/4 cup is fine, because this is to feed 2 people very generously. And then, of course, 1 last ladleful of liquid. Turn this off. You know how this goes. We've done this with all of our other risotto. Leave it alone for a few minutes. It will finish off in there, all comes together, heat off. We'll plate it when this is ready, and I'll show you what it looks like, and that's about it. Look at that. Look at that consistency. It looks amazing. It smells even better. See how, this is how a good risotto should be. If you take your wooden spoon and you run it back, you see how the rice moves right back in? That's called con una onda, and I've said this a million times. It's like a wave. It works perfectly every single time. Let's plate some of this up. Look at those big chunks of lobster. Oh, I'm gonna just take that for now. I've got lobster right here. And of course, risotto is meant to be eaten with a fork. My nonna will tell you that, and I will tell you that. If anyone tells you to eat it with a spoon, eat some rice soup, because risotto is meant to be eaten with a fork. Oh, wow. Isn't it amazing when something is so good that the next time you make it, it just like tastes even better? It's a good recipe right there. You've got to make this for Valentine's Day, date night, whatever the occasion might be. Make this recipe. It just tastes like $1,000,000, and it really does feel special. I hope you enjoyed spending time with me. Go to laurainthekitchen.com to get this recipe along with many, many others. I will see you very soon.